We're now going to focus on adding text, transitions, and backgrounds to our video. So I'm going to select text at the top, and there's different types of text here. We have some motion text, which is going to move automatically. So it's more like a GIF almost of a movement text. And you can scroll up and down. There's all kinds here, and you can click and drag and select which one you think would be the best. There are static right here. There are seasonal, callouts, rectangles, arrows, and some thematic endings, title and ending. I'm going to go ahead and select motion because what I'm thinking is I need maybe some sort of motion text on top of here to introduce this video. So I'm going to go ahead and choose an introduction to a, so I'm going to go ahead and choose one of these motion texts here, and I'm going to also add static, and I'll show you what the differences can be. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. Now because I want this at the beginning, notice that there's no room in the middle here. I'd have to move all my files to the right. But what I can do is I can insert this right here and see how it's orange. And when I drop it, it gives me an option to trim to fit. We'll see that later. Or we can insert and push. So what this means is it's going to insert the file and it's going to push everything else behind it. So it inserted this title and then everything else came afterwards. Now at this point, I have to do some editing. I see that 6 seconds. I don't want this to be 6 seconds long. So I can click and bring it back down to 3. That's as long as it needs to be. So it can't be any shorter than that, just because that's the file type. And then again, what I would do is I would click and drag to highlight those two and then bring them in here like this. Let's go ahead and preview.
I love lizards.
Maybe this guy goes here at the start of this lizard here. So he shows up at 3 seconds just when this lizard does. Let's go ahead and preview.
I love lizards.
That's what we have so far. Now, obviously, I don't want this to say, I want candy. I'm going to double click this, and I have tons of options for, I can recolor all of those bubbles that were there. I can do any of these. I can flip it. I can change the scale and the position here. If I go back to this word bubble, I can type in what I want. And I can change the font here if I'd like to. At this point, I can move my cursor over to the preview window, and I can actually click and change the location of my text box. I can then make it smaller or bigger in this way if I want. So I'm going to maybe move this so it shows up down in here. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Changes. I see the changes have been reflected. And I can preview here. And there we are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to insert another text box, and I'm going to show you some of the layering features. We're going to put our text up in video 2, and I'm going to show you what we can do with layering. So I can insert, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this, and I'm going to put this into video 2. And I'm going to show you what happens. So when you layer something, a piece of media on top of another piece of media, the media on top will layer on top of what's on the bottom. So here's what it looks like.
I love lizards.
So we see that the text here is layered on top of the lizard because the text box is in video 2, which is a layer on top of video 1. So this video 2 layer, whatever's in here, will be layered on top of what's down here. In this case, if there's no media here above the lizard's rule, then nothing will layer over it. In this case,
I love lizards.
We see that the text is layered on top of the image, therefore that's the way it comes across in the video.
I love lizards.
And it will stay there until I shorten it. So maybe I want to stop it here. I can go ahead and click and drag it backwards to stop there. So let's preview.
I love lizards.
And again, we could change this text by double clicking it and things like that. Now we're going to do the other way. Let's say that in this area here, I want to put an image to be the background of this. Back to stock media, and let's find a different lizard. Click and drag them in. Now in this case, it's orange again, but it doesn't quite fit. Now when I put it in, I don't want to insert and push, because if I insert it and push, it's going to insert it here, and then this file is going to be smushed over. What I want to do is I want to trim the video that I'm putting in, the image I'm putting in, and I want to trim it to fit the space that exists already. Trim to fit. Sneaks it right in. So now let's play. Okay. Now you notice how my image overlaid on top of my text. It was gone. That's because this is going to overlay on top. So what I would need to do is I'm going to move this over here for now, and I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this up to layer 2, and I'm going to drag this image down and put it in the middle. I'm going to trim to fit. And now when I play it, you'll notice that the text will be layered on top of the image.
I love lizards.
So the way some people think about this in terms of video 1 and video 2 is maybe all of your media is going to be in video 1, and then any of the text boxes you want to layer on top will be in video 2. That's typically the way people would do this. We can add another video layer. So if I click this plus icon right here, I can add an audio layer with more music, or I can add another video layer. It's up to you. If you add a track, it'll just layer it on top, and then I can add more things on top of what's in layer 1 and 2 if I want to. Now we're going to add some transitions. So I want this to start. We're going to go up here and click transitions. To insert a transition, go ahead and click one to preview it. Find one that you like, and you're just going to click and you're going to drag it, and I'm going to insert it in between the media. So when I move it here, it inserts in between those two. And I'm going to put a mosaic maybe in between those two. And now let's start it and see what it looks like.
I love lizards.
So we see those transitions right there are taking effect. You can change how long they are by clicking the transition. And then if you want to have an ending transition, click and drag one and then put it at the end. Preview. And then it fades out there. With video layer 3, if I wanted to add another image, I can take an image, put it at the very top. Now the problem with this is if I still want my image there, notice how it overlaps all the other content that I have below it. What I can do is I can edit this image, and if I go to the transform slide, what I can do is under scale, I can make it smaller. I can click and drag and make it smaller. And then at that point, I'll be able to resize manually, and I can actually move its position. So I can have multiple images by layering smaller images on top of larger background images in this way. I can crop it if I want to and do all the other features. And then of course, under animation, fading in and out is a nice setting. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Changes. And I'm going to say that this image is going to be all the way until this area here. And let's preview. So that was pretty quick. Let's make it a little longer there. Notice how it shows up in the top right corner overlaying, and then it disappears at the same time.
Lizards.
We can see that it disappears at the same time because it's lined up with the other media here.